Hello and welcome back. I figured it's been a couple weeks since I've given a proper video update, and we've moved forward with a handful of projects around here just a little bit. Week after week, between our jobs and working out here, it's taken a little longer to get us some of these things done. My job is physically demanding where I work, and so is this out here. So I get out here and do this stuff, working on sifting dirt to make soil for my garden beds, working with my brother on his firewood projects, and continuing to develop the property. Week after week, seems like we're always digging, trying to remove more vines and things of that nature, just to keep this place going because they keep coming back. But we're trying to get through a lot of stuff without putting down a lot of harsh chemicals. We just want to clean the ground naturally, sometimes with our tractor and so forth, and get this place going nice. It's a long working project, but we'll get there. And soon I might have a big update on some things that we're working towards. But for now, we'll get you caught up on a few of our current projects as they're going right now. Week after week, we get a little farther with the ditch dirt and some of the ground dirt that we received from the county when they were doing some excavations nearby. This is the remains of a couple of piles that we put together, and I need to get it sifted or finish sifting it. Behind me here I have our current sifted pile. It still has a little bit of sticks and a few bits of debris here and there in it. Not debris, but yard waste, leaves, very small bits of plant matter and so forth that will decay over time. The dirt is actually of decent quality, but there's a decent amount of sand in it. So in order for me to make this usable into soil, I will have to buy some soil from a vendor and buy probably some finished compost and a few other things and really mix this together. But it's actually not a bad composite as it is. And week after week, we pick up more and more pallets, about 5 or 6 per week, sometimes 10 per week. And I've shared a few with my brother to use with his wood cutting projects. Some of these I will use in the garden bed, some of them I won't. It just depends on how dirty they are. I do plan to before I use them, to bring out our portable generator and an orbital sander and sand them down a bit to clean them up. I don't want any of the oils and residues that are on some of the pallets in the garden area unless I can clean them up a bit. And most of it looks like it's just on the surface. If I just clean them up a little bit, they should be just fine. And then from our wood cutting efforts, which I'll talk about here in a few minutes, we have some pieces of wood that my brother did not see fit to add to the wood stacks after splitting and going through what we had. So instead of just discarding it, throwing it away or burning it in our fire pits, I am saving portions of the wood to use in the bases of my garden beds. Our compost projects are still coming along. The left 3 sets of bins are the cold compost, and we're just letting them go because we have so much to do, we can't turn it all. And then the right 3, we're turning weekly, or every 4 to 5 days if we can, and if not, about every 7 days. It's guaranteed that either my brother and I will have turned it. So it's decaying and breaking down at a decent rate. But most of the material is wood chips and tree bark, leaves, grass, and thicker, hardier pieces of wood. So it is taking longer to break down. It's not like leafy greens and kitchen scraps. So everything I've read online about these materials, they will break down, they just take a bit longer. So unfortunately, I may not be able to use them as soon as I want, depending on how soon I actually get the rest of my garden beds up and running. I'm trying not to spend a lot of money to build my initial garden beds. I'm just trying to do it as I go for now. Otherwise, if I wanted to drop a few $1,000s, I could buy different wood, metal, pre-made garden beds. Vigro has some very nice looking metal above ground garden beds that are 2 feet tall to 3 feet tall, but they run a few $100s each. And to put all of them out in this area would be a few $1,000s. And that's not something I'm looking to do at this time. So I'm trying to go about things a slower way, but at a much more cost advantageous way. So I may not be getting to growing food immediately, but my family understands that. My brother totally understands that and is on board with it. It's just going to take us a bit of time. And here we have our split wood stacks. My brother built this himself. We used some cinder blocks, put some treated 2x4s down underneath to hold the wood. These large fence posts have been railed down into the ground, hammered down, and everything has been fastened together. There's a 4-inch gap between the blocks, so there's not much room for air or things to get through. So we're not really afraid of it being blown over at this time. I know that was a concern when we first started building it, because we do get a little bit of weather out here, but it's pretty solidly built. Like, a couple of the poles will wiggle a little bit, but the poles are mostly here as a guide for us to know how big to make these stacks. Each of these stacks is what's called a rick by size and dimensions. And then each rick will add up to a cord. I believe it's 3 ricks per cord. This is our current splitting area. Right now, we just have some oak that's still drying so that it splits easier. And then when it's dried enough, we'll quarter it and then split it into firewood. And along with splitting the firewood, we get these little bits. And we're thinking about, well, we can use these as kindling. And we've got more oak to cut and then let dry. So these things, it'll take time. And then, as a little side project, well, what isn't a side project around here? We've got a lot of little things going on. I'm doing an experiment trying to make my own liquid fertilizer. I have taken grass cuttings, some plants, green plants, leaves, wood chips, sawdust, and a handful of other materials, and I filled these buckets up. Then I filled them up with water, and then I put these lids on them. And now they're just sitting here every day out in the sun, and they're cooking. And those are the current projects that we have going at the moment. With that, I might in a few weeks have some other interesting things to share with everyone as well. I'm going to save that for later. But for now, thank you very much for tuning in. My name is Travis, and I hope you have enjoyed seeing what we're doing here at the TMD Family Farm. Have a great day.